time. Welcome everybody. I'm going to go ahead and kick this off if Cindy and Sarah and Jerry are all ready to go.
We're ready.
Great. Awesome. Well, great. Welcome everybody. As you're logging on, we ask that you just please mute yourself. If I happen to mute you, don't be offended. That's just keeping the quiet and all the chatter in the background to a minimum. If you do have comments or questions or any needs, there is a chat function down at the bottom, and you can chat with everyone, or you can directly send me a message, and I'll make sure to get it to Jerry or Sarah or Cindy or anybody else. But first and foremost, welcome and happy Thursday afternoon. It is Thursday, right? I think some of us lose track of our days every now and then nowadays. But my name is Jared Batson again. For those of you that were on the last Zoom with Jerry and Sarah, I also was the moderator, so it's a pleasure to be back again. I guess I didn't screw up too much, so they welcomed me back, and happy to be here and helping host this wonderful class. I used to work for Sarah and George at Prairie Grass back a ways ago. It seems like forever ago, but also worked with Green City Market and was on the board with Sarah and ran my wood-fired pizza business at Green City Market. So got in close touch with Jerry as well, using a lot of his onions, the Cipolinis and French shallots and ground cherries like they're coming on the menu tonight. So it's really cool to have all these worlds come together. We have an awesome menu for you today. So Chef Sarah of Prairie Grass is featuring an awesome scallop dish with produce from Jerry's Froggy Meadow Farm in Beloit, Michigan, or I'm sorry, Beloit, Wisconsin, different state. So eggplant, ground cherries, tomatoes, Cipollini onions, a lot of beautiful stuff they're going to tell you all about. So I'm going to go ahead and get this show started, sending it to Chef Sarah. I know she's got a couple notes at the top. Pull your scallops out and pat them dry if you can, if you're cooking along. Again, just for housekeeping really quick before I send it over to her and pin her video, I'd ask that you just mute your camera. You can have your video working, and if you have any questions, you can just send them to me. Like Barbara just sent me a question that said, what can I sub out for the ground cherries so I can pull it out? If you have any tomatoes or tomatillos, Barbara, that's going to be my guess. Any cherry tomatoes or small tomatillos, because they're all in the same family there. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Chef Sarah, the co-star of today's event. All right.
Okay, hi everybody. Welcome. This is Prairie Grass Cafe. I'm Sarah Stegner. I'm excited to be showing you some of the recipes and the techniques that we're working on. Today we're working with scallops, and the recipe is eggplant, Carmine peppers, and Cipollini onions that we're sauteing, and then a beautiful fresh tomato, because when you have tomatoes that are like these, that are so incredibly delicious and fresh, you don't want to do too much to them. A couple of little things I want you to work on when you have the opportunity: wash your tomatoes and cut them in half. And these are the ground cherries. I did majority of the work for you guys that bought the packages, where you just kind of pop them out. They are delicious. I'm sure you're going to want to eat some just to taste what they're like if you haven't already. But you should take the ground cherries that I gave you and cut them in half, because you'll need to have them cut in half for the recipe. The scallops, you can give them a rinse if you want and pat them dry, and then you want to clean them by taking the muscle off of them. That's the little section on the side you remove from that. It's a little chewy. It's not, there's nothing wrong with eating it, but it is a little chewy. And most of the scallops look like they've been cleaned, but that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that little section on the side that you're going to remove. And these look pretty clean, but traditionally scallops can have a little grit on them. So that's why we rinse them and pat them dry. All right, so to get started, I'm gonna do the first half of this recipe with you. I diced up the eggplant. Now, I have to say, eggplant is one of those things that when it's not in season, you can still get it, but it doesn't have the mild, delicious flavor that you get from the fresh ones right now. So this is the time to cook eggplant and really enjoy it. It takes a lot of oil. You just want to put a little olive oil in the pan. You can follow me over here. Make sure your pan is fairly hot. And you know when you're cooking that you want to get your pan hot first before you add the oil. And then when you're ready to put the eggplant in there, that's when you add the oil in. Okay? So I've been heating this up. It should be hot. And this is 1 cup that we're putting in there. You want to start that, maybe not hot enough, but it won't take long. And then a little bit of sea salt. I always season at the beginning. I think it's really, it's important that you don't want things to taste like salt. You want things to taste like the product. So I'm doing this so that you get the flavor of the eggplant, which is delicious. Okay, so I'm gonna let that cook, and then I'm gonna add my Cipollini onions. And when I put them in, these are gorgeous onions. They're beautiful, and they've got a great flavor to them. I'm gonna kind of break them up a little bit so that they cook more evenly and they won't take quite as long. The eggplant, I really like eggplant when you're sautéing it or roasting it in the oven. I like it cooked all the way. One of the things that if you're making a ratatouille or I'm working with cooks, it's one of the things I check. That if the eggplant's not cooked, I have to go back to them and say, okay, throw it in the oven another 10 minutes. Almost always. It's a very basic mistake people make. So you really want it to cook, and I'm going to add a little bit more oil because it absorbed a lot of that, and it will release some at some point, but right now it's holding the oil. So I'm going to get this golden brown, and then I'm going to add the onions and the peppers, and I'm going to season again. And all of that, I'm not going to add the onions until my eggplant is browned. Okay, do not add your onions and your peppers until your eggplant is browned. And then you can go to Jerry, and he can show you what ground cherries look like on the bush, maybe. I don't know what he's got planned, or all the different varieties of tomato. I took each one of the pints of tomatoes that he sent me and combined them. So you have everything that he had on his list. Okay, you have everything in there that he had on his list. All right, Jerry, take it away.
Amazing. Great. So I'm going to unpin Chef Sarah here. Everybody that's following along, I'm also putting some notes in the side chat. I'm looking for Jerry here. He's unmuted. We're going to pin him. So you can follow along in the chat. If you have any questions, just send a message to me or the whole group. But here's Jerry at Froggy Meadow. He's going to show us around where all this beautiful produce is coming from. Thanks, Jerry.
Hey, how you doing? This is Jerry, Froggy Meadow here, and most people haven't tried ground cherries, maybe not even ever heard of them. They're a member of the tomatillo family. However, unlike a tomatillo, they are sweet, very sweet, like fruit. They've got an almost tropical fruit flavor, overtones of vanilla, pineapple, and they're quite unique. They're also very, very hard to harvest. I'm going to let you take a look at our little operation here. So as you can see, these green plants are the ground cherry plant. And if you look closely, you'll see the small ground cherries growing on them. They start green, and then when they turn tan, they are fully ripe, and they fall to our mat here. My very good friend Jackie is up there harvesting right now. It's very difficult. We have to crawl around on our hands and knees, or even our bellies, reach under the plants where we find all these little beauties. We're going to take a little walk now and see some of the other items you guys are using today. Of course, we got some of our beautiful tomatoes. In our tomato fields here, there are over 30 varieties of heirloom and cherry tomatoes, and we'll show you a few. These are the top of the line, Sun Sugar tomatoes, the very sweetest tomatoes that I have ever eaten. Consistent winners of our tomato contest down in Green City Market. They're just wonderfully sweet. And I'm sure you'll have a few in there, but we've included many others like this, the purple bumblebee. I don't know if you can see the stripes here. On the vine, they're really something to see. But I'm gonna take you a little farther up here. We've got other types. Here's the black cherry. It's a bit of a walk around here. Every row is 250 feet long and full of tomatoes. But the one I really want to show you is the atomic grape. It's a beautiful and amazing tomato, a black tomato, very high in anthocyanins, very healthy for you, very unique, very hard to grow. They're prone to splitting, disease, all sorts of problems. Here we go, heading over to the atomic grape. This is a beautiful tomato. I don't know if you can see the purples, which then turn into beautiful orange, green, and other colors. Look at that. They turn from a solid black tomato into this. This is actually a cosmic eclipse, which is a sister tomato to the Brad's atomic grape. Here's one black one, totally purple. Really, really lovely tomato.
Jerry, I think most people that grow tomatoes in at their house or their backyard or their apartment, stoop, they see them go from green to red, whereas this seems like it's like the opposite process. Is there any reason behind that, or it's just the distinctive nature of the variety?
Well, it's got to do with the anthocyanins, which basically are a nutrient associated with black fruits such as eggplants and black tomatoes, as they simply operate in the opposite manner. Instead of being green, chlorophyll-based to red or other colors, it's the other way around.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, here's something to take a look at, the Carmen pepper. This is the most wonderful sweet pepper in existence as far as I'm concerned. And you've got a few in your kits right now. They start out green and turn red, as you can see. Very, very sweet. And unlike most sweet peppers, they have a very thin wall, which enables you to use them in ways that you couldn't use a bell pepper. They are not spicy in any way, despite the shape, which makes you think of a spicy pepper. But so those are some of the ingredients we have. Those are some of the ingredients you're using. We also use Cipollini onions. Our farm specializes in the allium family. Cipollinis are one of the many we grow. And here's a Italian eggplant, which you're using right now in your recipes. Eggplants are my favorite plant to grow. I'm just in love with the eggplant.
And Jerry, I've got Mark asking just to confirm. So aside from Green City Market, are there other markets that you're selling, or any other venues that you're selling your produce through?
Well, Froggy Meadow is a very, very small farm, and we sell only at Green City Meadow. Most farms there are 10, 20 times our size, so we don't have the capacity to go to a lot of markets. We've chosen Green City Market as the best market with the best customers, and we just love going down there and connecting with all the foodies in the Chicago area.
Wonderful. All right, so good. So everybody asking out there, Mark and Bonnie and Brad, you can find his produce at Green City. So
these are the Cipollinis that you guys are using in their whole form, and Sarah was right. This is truly one of the most beautiful onions there is, the gold Cipollini. And it's one of our favorites here. We also grow blush, which is a more typical pink onion, not a red onion. French red shallots, another beauty. Very, very special type of shallot. And the red Cipollini. They're all beautiful. Red Cipollini is unique in that it stores so well. These easily last until next March.
Right. We still have you there, Jerry. I think it may have.
Oh yeah, I slipped out for a second. I slipped
Gotcha.
off. But
still admiring the onions, though. Don't worry.
Yeah, great. The best way to store onions? Someone just asked.
Yes.
What you're doing is looking for a compromise. Onions are best stored at 32 degrees, 0% humidity, complete darkness, and good airflow. If you can carefully consider that, you'll see that's pretty much impossible except in a commercial setup. So what you do is try to achieve as many of those goals as possible. Your refrigerator is one of the most excellent places to keep them, except for the poor airflow. Another option is a basement or a garage where it's much cooler although you won't reach the temperatures you really need to. If you're looking to store them till next March, you definitely want to go with your refrigerator. But if you store them just in a dark cabinet that's fairly cool, they'll easily last till December.
And Jerry, on the same vein, in the same vein of storage, the tomatillo family and the ground cherries, do you treat them? Do you personally treat them like tomatoes in that you don't refrigerate them and they get mealy, or do you refrigerate tomatillos and ground cherries?
Well, what we do is we tend, if we're looking for long-term storage, we'll tend to store them at 60 to 70 degrees. I'm sorry, for short-term storage. For long-term storage, you're going to need to put them in your refrigerator. The ground cherry will hold up to refrigeration much better than a tomato, so it won't lose as much flavor. And in fact, a trick you can try is to refrigerate your ground cherries just before eating. Chilling the ground cherries gives them a very, very special flavor. If you're going to use them for cooking, just store them on your counter. Don't leave them in the sun. Shady, coolish place inside your house.
Great. And great. And I think on that note, we're going to kick back over to Chef Sarah. If now's a good stopping time, Jerry, unless there's something right at your toes that you wanted to point out. But we're going to kick it back, and we'll have an opportunity to come back to you.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Go ahead, Sarah.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and unpin you. I'm going to unmute Sarah, or ask her to unmute. So you might have to unmute yourself there, Chef. We're going to come right back. There we go. Awesome.
Yeah, we're good. Okay. So that was great, Jerry. Thank you so much. It really gives people a chance to understand exactly where it's coming from. And I think that's so valuable. And, you know, we go to Green City Market, we walk through, but there's nothing like seeing where the plant is coming from. You can see here that that I seared the eggplant really well, and then the peppers and the onions are just cooked. Just cooked. I didn't take them too far. And my pan is warm. I've been heating it up. It's gonna flare. I gave you guys clarified butter. You want to put that in, and then salt and pepper. You want sea salt, and you want to be generous with your salt with the scallops. And I'm going to do a little pepper, and then turn them over and season them on both sides. And let me say too that buying a really good quality scallop is a big deal. That there's a taste difference when you don't buy the dry packs or the diver caught scallops. It's not just how they're harvesting and for the environment, it's also a flavor issue. So I want you to do that if you're gonna repeat this. I think I have a speck too much butter in there. I'm gonna take a little bit out.
And Chef, you said these are coming from Massachusetts, right? From just near Cape Cod.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. When you cook scallops, you want to make sure you don't overcrowd the pan, and you want it to be hot. So you're going to put them about an inch apart. What happens if you don't, they don't sear and they sweat, and then they get rubbery, and that's what you don't want. So you're going to really get a nice sear there. Okay. And you want to let it get brown. So I'm not going to move it. I put them in, I'm going to leave them there, and I'm going to let them sear all the way. And then if I can find some tongs, yeah, I'll turn them over, but not until they're brown. And then we're going to make the sauce. So, ooh, I didn't cut my tomatoes. So here we go. I'm going to put in the pan, in the plate. I'm plating for one. This is enough for two. So I'm just going to put half of it in there. And the tomatoes, I'm going to cut some in half. I want to season them with salt and pepper. I know he went through all the different varieties with you, but you want to make sure when you're plating that everybody gets some of all the tomatoes.
Chef, I remember you always taught me that with the salads and plates, and hide a little bit underneath so you can have some throughout the whole dish.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, here I'm just going to mix these in with salt and pepper. So I'm not going to do anything, no vinaigrette. You don't need it. You have the sauce from the scallops coming. A little bit of salt and pepper on that. Sauce them around. And they're going to go right over the top there. I'm going to go right over the top. I'm going to save that one for that other person who's going to get it. All right, and our scallops, you can probably flip them now. You see you got a nice sear on them. Okay, so now I'm going to give it one little bit here, and I'm going to add the whole butter and the capers. So I'm going to sprinkle these in. I like to get them a little crunchy, so give them an opportunity to saute just a bit. I like capers when they have that little texture to them. And then whole butter. Get that in there. And we're making enough sauce for two, so that's your dish here. And you're gonna wait for that butter to brown. See how it's just starting around the outside? It'll give it a nutty flavor. Now, these are delicious. I'm not really cooking them. I'm just warming them through. So I'm not going to saute them. I've got the capers working in there. You can see the butter is browning, or you get a little more color. We're going to go ahead and sprinkle these in. And then lemon. And when you add the lemon, it basically stops the butter from browning. It adds some acidity to it. And we will have to taste it for balance. I'm going to give it a pinch of additional salt in there. And then I'm going to taste it. Good flavor, enough lemon. I'm okay with it. Now, if my scallops were really big, I would have to take them out and either finish them in the oven or allow them to cook at a lower temperature after I've seared them. But this, they look like they're right there. You don't need to have them like completely cooked all the way through, but you still want them, you don't want them tough. You still want them kind of like a medium, but you also don't want to overcook them. And these are small, juicy, beautiful scallops. So that would be about a half portion. Those are a little smaller than the other ones in the pan. And this is, I said it's enough for two people. So then we're going to spoon the sauce over it. And you want to coat each scallop with the sauce and just let it run down. And I have to tell you that when you eat the capers with the ground cherries together, you're going to be really happy. You are going to be really happy. You're going to wish that you had a whole pint of them, because it's a delicious combination. So that's a pretty easy dish to make at home. It's using all of one farm to produce a beautiful meal, and it has some richness to it. Summer dishes can have that rich quality as well as the acidity from the tomatoes and the capers. So I hope you enjoy that. And if you guys have questions, you can ask. And Jerry, I can't tell you how important this was to me as a chef, that I have often eaten ground cherries. And, we used to take Cape gooseberries and dip them in fondant at the restaurant, but I've never cooked with them before. I put them in salads and stuff, but this was a new experience for me, and I'm thrilled with the combination.
Beautiful, chef.
Thank you.
Awesome dish. Salivating right now over here. I love the ground cherries too. We used to use it in lieu of pineapple to make a Green City Market Hawaiian style pizza. So big fan of that. I'd say this is just cool. a little more. This is a little more decadent and highbrow, and a much better use of them, I'd say. We have one quick question, or actually a couple questions coming through, Chef, that I'd like to pass on to you. If you had to roast the scallops off because they're on the bigger side, what temp would you recommend putting them in the oven? Something in the 400s or higher?
You don't need it too high. You don't want it to you're already going to sear it in the pan. Don't take that away. You want the caramelization on both sides of the scallop. So this is just a matter of, bringing them up a little bit. For us, it would probably take 5 minutes at 400 degrees, that kind of thing, and then pull them out.
Great. Awesome. And then another question about the scallops. One of the viewers is saying, can I freeze half the scallops if there's not two of us to eat them today and they want to save them for a later time? These haven't been frozen before, I'm
They
guessing.
have not been frozen. I don't see why you couldn't. I think it would be fine. I guess if it were me, I would rinse them, pat them dry, take the muscle off, clean them, and then put them in a little bag and freeze them if I was going to do that.
Wonderful. Awesome. So maybe I'll kick it back to Jerry just for a couple more things on the farm, and then we can come back and wrap things up. And I know I'd love to have you share with the group some of the stuff you're working on for next week as well. So, all right. Thanks, Chef. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
We'll be right back to you in a couple minutes. All right, Jerry, I'm asking you to unmute there. I'm going to come back to you. Let's do a couple more peeks at the farm.
Sounds good, Jared. Sounds good. Yeah, and I have to say, I remember fondly that Hawaiian pizza with the ground cherries. That was something special.
Nice.
And
Awesome.
Every time somebody asks me what to do with ground cherries, that's my first go-to. But we always have a lot of unique products up here, and I'm going to step away from the recipe a little bit to show you guys a few of the things we got going on. Maybe you'll see it in some future excitement here in the Zoom cooking. But right over here is something new to the farm, which I am in love with. This is Breton shiso. It is Korean shiso, and you can see the large leaves. If you've ever eaten sushi at a grocery store, you'll see a small plastic green leaf in there. Well, this is what it should be, shiso. It's got a taste somewhere between mint and basil combined. Very unique, very flavorful. Many, many amazing things you can do with it. And over here we have salsify, which is a plant most people aren't familiar with. It's a root plant, often called the oyster root, because when cooked, it has the flavor of seafood. But this is the top of the salsify. It's a very grassy looking plant with about a 12-inch long root beneath it, which is really wonderful to cook. We've also got a lot of Japanese cucumbers. We specialize in Japanese products, but this is a Japanese greenhouse cucumber called Nokia. Amazing taste, beautiful cucumber. And its sister, Itachi, which is a white cucumber. Now you can probably see this cucumber is massive, but even at this large size, it has a small seed cavity, and it's quite crispy and tasty. Really, really unique cucumbers. Yes, this has been a really, really great cucumber year, as someone just asked, and we're really excited with it and bringing a lot of really cool products. If you're interested, I'm going to take you guys for a bit of a mushroom tour, though we didn't use them in this particular recipe. Last time, we took a look at some of the wild mushrooms we gather, and now I'm going to show you some of the mushrooms that we raise. And I built my mushroom house from a refrigerated vehicle, which I then converted by adding a fog machine to create humidity, humidistats to maintain it, air conditioners to cool it. We'll take a little look inside some of the things we have going on. Right here is an exciting mushroom, the chestnut mushroom. Very unique, very uncommon. It's really, really a lovely mushroom, and we'll have those at the market this weekend. Also, we have lion's mane. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. You can see the tiny hairs made up of the, as you can see, we're growing these on sawdust blocks, which is houses. But we've got it's a very simple setup in here. Air conditioning units, grow lights. This is actually a homemade fog machine which spews out fog. When this humidistat reaches the right humidity percentage. Really nice setup, and we have a lot of fun with it.
Jerry, back to the shiso. What was we have somebody asking the variety again. I know shiso is SHISO, but what was the first name? Was it Baton?
Briton,
Briton.
BRITTON. Yeah, and it's a Korean shiso. I don't know the origin of the name Briton, but it's a milder shiso than the Japanese version. So that lends its use to many things. Many of the chefs who are using it as a basil replacement, and you get some really interesting results when you make a shiso instead of the basil. For instance,
sounds great for a cocktail too.
Yes, great for a cocktail. It's also great as an edible garnish. You can use it as it's about the size of your hand, so you can use it almost as a plate, which you then can use as a wrap or
Jared,
on it.
We did a king crab pasta with your shiso, and it was chopped up in there, and it was just delicious, a perfect pairing. It's really good.
Yeah, it's a very unique flavor.
Awesome.
That's something we use in the West a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming wrapping up to the close here. I want to just give both of you the chance to plug anything you want. I've got one other person asking, can we order from you in advance of the market to minimize direct contact, Jerry? Is there a way to order from you in advance? Tell us about what the ordering experience is like with you right now.
Yeah, at present, we're only working at the stand itself. We don't have a pre-order curbside pickup, unfortunately. And we're already selling out every week. So that's why we're sticking with only that.
Well, that's great to hear and great to know.
I know I have to put in my order really fast so I can get what I need. I don't like to wait.
What should we be? I was going to say, what should we be looking forward to? That's just about. I know tomatoes are on the out. What's coming in next that you're super excited about that we can salivate over?
Super excited about an heirloom orange fleshed watermelon that we're growing. They're growing right away out there. A few more weeks on those. I don't know if earlier before the Zoom recording, some of you may have seen me walking around looking at the trees in our orchard. We have apple cider coming, maybe end of September, October, and we've got these beautiful Seckel pears that should be available in September. They are an amazing little pear, similar in flavor to a Bartlett, but even sweeter, yet they are 1/3 the size of a Bartlett. So it's a tiny pear. And the Seckel pears are hard to find, and we have them this year in huge quantities. And
that's great.
I'm really excited about those.
Love awesome.
That. Yeah. Well, great. Jerry, thank you so much. Sarah, is there anything you wanted to share as well? I know you were talking about the cooking week and the spot that you have next week on
yeah.
TV.
Yeah. Next week we kick off Women's Restaurant Week. It actually goes 6 days. It starts on the 26th, which is Women's Equality Day, and we're asking people to go to chef-driven restaurants that are run by women. So even though I'm partnered with George Gombaris, I would like you to come to my restaurant too.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and people are really excited about it, and it's a good opportunity to support some of the restaurants that we are all facing difficult challenges. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate the people that are ordering curbside from us regularly, and our patio is set up. I would say that I have another cooking Zoom class coming up. I don't have an exact date yet, but in the next 2 or 3 weeks with Judith Shad from Capriole Farm. Hopefully we'll get pictures of some goats along with that, but her beautiful goat cheese. And you'll be hearing from me. If you sign up to the newsletter, you can get access to the information about what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And Cindy's also, Cindy Carmen is also mentioning in the chat, everybody want to make sure, as Chef just mentioned, if you're not on the PGC email list, then just put into the chat or email, but the easiest is just put in the chat your email and name here if you're okay, or you can privately share with Cindy with the name Cindy Carmen there, and we can get you on the mailing list. You'll hear about things like Women's Restaurant Week, about ordering fish for the Sunday fish order for Monday to pick up.
Thank you.
So many great things that the team at Prairie Grass is working hard in the trenches to make sure everybody's getting amazing food and supporting the amazing farmers like Jerry and all the Green City family. So yeah, thank you again. It was wonderful to be a part of this. It's nice to be touching my old home base now. I'm in the state of Maine, near Portland, Maine right now, on a lake. So I love how technology is really supporting everything right now. So anything else to say from Sarah or Jerry? And if not, we're just gonna say goodbye to everybody.
Thank you. All good. I appreciate everybody coming and supporting me. Thank you. Bye, Jared. Bye,
Great,
Jerry.
thank you.
Bye.
Very nice.
Bye, Jerry. Bye, Sarah. Bye, everybody.
guys.
Thank you. And yeah, sign up for the email list.
Thank you.